like to have on record, and later I do post them to YouTube. So we'll go ahead and get started. Norbert, usually what I would do is I would start by having everybody introduce themselves to each other, talk a little bit about what they do, a little bit about what's going on for them in their lives, and then we get into the questions. At the moment, it's just you. So
Okay.
what I was thinking we might do is I still want to hear a little bit about what you do and so forth. And then, of course, obviously, I'm going to want to know, your book related questions. And then, out of that, it looks like we'll probably have some time to do a little bit of workshopping if you're game for it, so you can kind of see how we work and see if we can help you. So starting with, tell me a little bit about you. Tell me what you do. Tell me what your aspirations are, all of the things.
Okay, sounds good. So I actually just left a 25-year corporate career in the area of quality and compliance for product. So if I go back even before that, I was born and raised in France, went to engineering school, mechanical engineering, and then I started working for Adidas back in 1997 in Vietnam. So I have a 2-3 year experience working on their testing laboratory back in Vietnam, setting up their infrastructure for labs in the office and in the factory. Then I moved over to Germany, where I took over the head of standards for footwear over there, did some QA, QC work with the teams. And then I moved to Portland in 2005. And that's when I did even more in that same area. I dealt with product safety, product compliance, fit and wear test. And in the last 5 years, I really focused, we restructured the entire team with the organization across all divisions, and I was really truly in charge of the infrastructure of standards. And so testing, policies, procedure, processes, system, everything that builds the machinery to control and manage quality of products. At the material level, chemical level, at the product level. And so a lot of strategic work, a lot of construction work, a lot of documentation, a lot of systems. And I really enjoyed that work. So when I left the organization in January this year, I really wanted to develop some sort of consulting activity around the same area. So the idea for me is, and I think that's what I'm really good at, is helping small and medium-sized organizations structure their governance system internally so that they start running around like chickens with their heads off, first of all, and then they can be confident in the systems they have in place, and that their system allows them to grow and develop as well and anticipate the kind of growth spurs that are happening. So bring them stability in where they are, but also bring them perspective so that they know what to anticipate as well as they go and develop themselves. So the book, as I was starting to chat with my networks, I realized that I had a lot of things to say because I've been doing it for such a long time. And so I was like, I think I need to write a book. So I took a template in Pages, and then I just started jotting down things. I started structuring it and putting a table of content together. And yeah, and I think I'm at 70 pages. I want to make something that's a little more fun and more high level. I don't want to go into too technical details, but really a book towards like startups, small, medium-sized organizations who are or people who are not necessarily familiar with the area of quality, so that they have the fundamentals in the book they can refer to and feel like, okay, this is as much as I need to do, and I'll feel, and I'll have a system that's up and running and fairly reliable as well. So,
okay,
does that make
good.
sense?
Yeah, totally makes sense. Thank you for sharing all of that. Beautiful. And just, Susie has joined us. So we have another person here. Susie, are you there? Do you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Hi, I'm here and I'm really happy to listen today. I'm
Okay.
not in a frame of mind for sharing.
Okay. I got you.
so
No problem. Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
And thank you to the others for letting me listen.
Absolutely. Yes. So Norbert, it looks like we're just going to be workshopping your book idea today. This is fabulous. Okay, or the book that you're working on. So before we get into that, Ayla, how do you feel about introducing yourself briefly?
Oh, sure. Yeah, so I am Fen's executive assistant. I started working with Fen back in February, and it's been so much fun. I absolutely love getting the admin side of things together for Fen. Um, I love stepping in and helping. I always say, like, the boring parts of business. Not a lot of people like doing that, and that's my favorite. So, yeah, I have 3 kids. My husband's in the military, and we just got stationed in Alaska. So we are all the way up there. Like I said, we just came, I'm from Illinois, but we just moved from Texas. So we went from Texas to Alaska, huge climate change, culture shock. Um, but we are loving it. We're going hiking, we're doing all the outdoor things. I said I told Corey that my goal is to become an outdoor person because I'm very much so an indoor person. So my goal is to get myself outdoors more, and so far we've been doing a really good job at it. So yeah.
Amazing. Yay. Thank you for that. Yeah,
You're
having
welcome.
Ayla has been life-changing for me. I just keep leaning more and more on Ayla. I'm like, wait a minute, Ayla could do this.
Yeah.
So, and of course, I'm the book midwife. And what I do is I help, paradigm shifting thinkers birth the book that's burning inside of them. My partner is Corey, and he sometimes joins us. He's on the book publishing side. So together we offer a complete solution from I have an idea for a book to I am holding the book in my hands. A lot of our authors do, Norbert, have their consultants or their coaches or their keynotes like you are, and they want to use their book to build a platform for their business to increase their profits, increase their perceived value in the market, and also to help their clients understand better what it is that they do. So a delight to meet you, a delight to be here with you. So let's talk about your book. You've already given me all of the basics, right? It seems like you're already pretty clear. Let's start with, where do you have questions?
So I think my questions are more around the process of it. I think in terms of the content, I think I'm fairly clear. Although the editing section of it is probably going to be a big surprise when I get to that. But and then I guess the rest is already about. I want it to be more fairly entertaining and graphic as well, because this is can be a very dry topic. So I've been trying to make it as light reading as possible. So really touching on concepts and ideas, and as opposed to really hard down numbers and mathematical formulas. But I also want it to be very visual, because I'm a very visual person myself. And I've realized over my career that people tend to react, and it helps a lot understanding concepts when you have good visual supplements as well, or supports.
Yeah, got it. Beautiful. So of those topics, are there any that are particularly challenging for you right now, or that you're struggling with?
I guess the other topic is how do you how do you discipline yourself to actually get the work in it? To put the time in there, because I find myself going back to it. It's like it's in the back of my mind. So sometimes I set it up as a priority. Sometimes I kind of randomly, like, I'm on my computer and I go back to the book, and then suddenly I start writing stuff. But I kind of would like to have a timeline for myself as well, so that I can birth this thing at some point.
Yes. Okay, excellent. That is a fantastic question. Okay, so with that in mind, I'm going to take us back a few steps and get some high level things kind of clarified with you, and then we'll dive into some timeline considerations. So rather than just giving you an answer, we're going to go ahead and workshop this and create something that's going to work for you. So first question. Again, we're taking a step way back here. I know what it is that you do, and I know what it is that your book is more or less going to be about. I want you to take a moment and think about a world in which you have written and published your book. It's complete and it's out in the world. What is the change that you want to see in your life as a result of that book being out there? And here, feel free to think big. Like we're
Right.
this is ideal scenario, right? It's had the impact that you were hoping for. It's amazing. It's everything you dreamed of. How is your life different?
I think the vision for me in the work that I do in that area is to I kind of have that vision of being calling for conferences, calling to companies, like do some public speaking, but also do like company workshops, so company one-to-one, like with managements and organizations and things like that. And then the book, having the book itself as being that introductory medium that really, like you say, that introducing my work. Like I'm known for, this is the philosophy and the approach that I have around product quality and compliance management and strategy. And so an entire puzzle of events and interventions and coaching or mentoring or like I see a whole bunch of different things happening, like fairly active life around the book. Not the sales of the book itself, but really this is like my tool that I carry with me around.
Yes.
I was actually, it's funny because I was watching a YouTube about this guy that does it's on Netflix. It was a Netflix show on financial advice. And he has his book, like that's what he gives to people in the first meeting. Is like, okay, go to section 1 and do those exercises, and then we'll regroup and we'll talk about it. And this is kind of what I want to get to, is a point where, I have the book, but that's a way for me to really get the work done around the specific topic and kind of give me a framework, give me and my clients a framework around it as well.
I love to hear that. I love to hear that. That is exactly what we advise our clients who want to build their consulting or coaching career, to really line it up to it becomes this is Corey's phrase, it's your 24/7 sales team that's out there working on your behalf for free, day in and day out, right? It builds relationships. It increases the perceived value of your services. It makes you literally the authority on your topic. The word authority, the root of that is the same as author. When you are the author, you are the authority. So I love to hear that you're thinking that way with your book. And everything you just described is such a clear articulation of how that book can operate, as well as becoming a tool that you use with your clients, right? So beautiful. I love to hear that. Now, next question. Well, actually, no, let me dive just a little bit deeper with that. How much of the work that you just described are you already doing in your business?
Not much. And so I'm just really starting. I'm really more in the networking and trying to set up relationships with organization and people, like reactivate connections that I've had from my career, all the people that moved away from the company and different organizations. So yeah, I mean,
perfect.
Very early phase.
Okay, little tidbit. You can already be using your book, even though it's not complete yet, to rebuild those connections. So when you reach out to people, imagine saying, hey, whether you're reconnecting or whether you're reaching out to somebody new, I'm working on a book on X topic. I would love to get some insight from you or I would love to,
Right.
you know, whatever that conversation starter is. And then what you learn from the people you're talking to can also influence back into your book. What are their needs? What are their questions? What's
Right.
interesting to them, right? So just deciding which direction to go with the questioning here. Yeah, so let's talk about your reader, which is also your customer in your case. Do you have an ideal customer profile already? Are you working on that?
Not written down.
Okay.
No.
Go ahead and tell, but what do you know? What do you know about your ideal customer?
So I think that there's a couple of
Mhm.
profiles. There's the junior quality professional
Mhm.
that works for either starts working for a large organization or just starting as a career
Mhm.
and kind of want to get a very much broader perspective on the area of quality and compliance, or so that, or um, startup management as well.
Mhm.
So people who are building their organizations, they're like 10, 50 employees, they don't really have a quality person yet, they don't really know how to tackle it, they don't really know what to do. So
Mhm.
in order for them to get familiar with the topic and kind of anticipate on, okay, if I hire someone, then this is what I have to expect, kind of thing.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that's kind of like, these are I think the two profiles that I'm shooting for.
Of those two profiles, which one would be more fun for you?
A good question. I think probably the startup executive, because there's a lot more strategic work that would have to happen in understanding where they are
Mhm.
and what holes need to be plugged in their systems, in their governance, like what's already in place, what's missing, what's their product, what are they shooting for, how do they define quality for them, like what's the
Mhm.
culture that's existing, what's their thought process as
Mhm.
well in there, where do they want to go in terms of vision as well for their products.
Mhm.
So I think because there's a lot more strategic conversations, I think I'd have more fun with an executive. Yeah,
Yeah.
with smaller.
That makes a ton of sense to me. And just speaking from instinct here, I also think that's going to be your shorter sales cycles. I
Yeah,
think it's going to be your higher profit. And I
probably.
think it's going to be where you can have the biggest impact.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you know somebody who fits this profile personally? A friend, an associate, somebody you've worked with in the past?
I am in conversation with a person who's heading the entire operations for a footwear brand as well, and who's looking at building. She's in the process right now of building that.
Mhm.
So I think that's the one that comes to mind.
Mhm.
Actually, two ladies I'm working with at the VP level who are like trying to structure their entire world.
Mhm.
They're a little more advanced. Their organization is past the startup stage.
Okay.
But that's the same logic in terms of the type of work that needs to be done. Yeah.
Okay. And in regard to either one of those two people, can you help them?
Yes.
I love to hear it. Okay.
Absolutely.
So, how would it feel to you to write your book as a dear Sylvia, Claudia, Mary,
Right.
whatever her name is? Great to have that person in your mind while you're writing it.
Mm,
So
yeah,
what we're kind of doing here is we're honing in on focus, right?
right.
So when we work with our authors, we always start with the foundation, with the that clarity and focus. And actually there's a workshop that's sort of our entry point to working with us that is, we always insist on, even if somebody comes to us with a completed draft, because until you have the clarity about who you're writing for, what you're writing, and also why you're writing it, it's very difficult to get that level of focus that you're looking for. So authors come to us and they have all of these questions about, well, I think I know what I'm doing. I kind of want to do this. I know this is what I want it to do. But until you get that crystal clear focus, it's always going to kind of be a little all over the place, right? So knowing who you were writing for, and then it can spread out, right? So you know Max, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, yeah, I worked on both of his books. The first one was for agencies, right? Well, there was so much good stuff in there that's also applicable for consultants. He eventually actually wrote the book for consultants, right? But you could read that first one and still get what you need to improve your consultancy, right? So just because you're writing for one individual audience this time doesn't mean you're going to completely exclude the others, but it's going to give you that focus. And if you know that you want to work with startups, you can even get that narrow with your focus. You can say, this book is for startup executives who care about quality and want a system that is, scalable, and whatever all of the terms are that, that make a quality system good, right? And then picture that person in your mind while you were writing. So that doesn't answer the question you came with, but it's a foundational place to start in terms of focus. And then also the question about why, you've already answered that to a certain extent. The other question I like to encourage people to ask, and you're getting the full treatment here since you showed up and you're the only one, it's like, oh, you're getting it all, you're getting all the good stuff.
I'll take it.
The other question is on the why side, why for you, but now I want you to turn it the other direction. Again, imagining the book is complete, it's out in the world, and it's having all of the impacts you hope it's having. What is the change that it's making in the world, either for your clients, or you can go broader?
Yeah.
Do you have an answer to that, or do you just want to contemplate
No.
that?
It's a deep question.
It is a deep question.
Yes.
I want to make quality fun and entertaining for people, because it's been portrayed as such a dry topic. And
Keep going.
I know. I just think that there's an aura around it of just, it's no one wants to deal with you if you have the title of quality, and why do we even have it? And it's always preventing me from being creative, and it's throwing obstacles in front of us, and they're never working with us and all of that. And I want to change that paradigm. I want people to be like, no, it's awesome. I love doing this. We want to have good products. We want to make our customers happy. This is what we stand for. This is our values. I'm proud of what we do. And so I want to turn this into a weapon for organizations. And on top of it, I want people to then, because they understand how it is, what it is, and why they do it, then they don't have to stress about it. It's one more weight less, and they can focus on strategy. They can focus on things that on their customers and their clients, servicing them the right way. Things that are continually adding value and growth to the organization.
I love that so much. Ayla, do you happen to have a blank of the foundation statement like Corey uses in our workshops that you could throw me in an email real quick?
Okay.
We're going to do this. Okay. And so Norbert, I got so excited when you said that you wanted to make this fun and entertaining, because one of my specialties, my visionary gifts, is all about voice. So here's the thing. There are thousands of books out there, tens, hundreds, millions. There are so many books, and on just about every topic imaginable. And a lot of authors get stuck in a space of, what do I have to say that hasn't already been said? Or is this even important enough to be out there? And even if you're not stuck there, it is an important question, right? It's differentiating, just like everything else in business. If you're not differentiated, you're not going to make the progress you want to make. And in books, the differentiating factor is almost always the author's voice. It's having something to say in a way that nobody else is saying it. It's your perspective. It's your insights. It's your way of being in the world. So when you say you want it to be fun and entertaining, what I'm hearing is, I have a fun and entertaining, you, Norbert, as I have a fun and entertaining viewpoint on the topic of quality. To me, quality is fun. To me, quality is interesting. And I want other people to feel that and to know that. So then your book can carry you. It can carry Norbert's essence out into the world in a Norbert way. And that's how you have the impact that you want to have, both in terms of attracting your people so that you can get the business that you want, and in terms of changing the industry to see things that they're not already seeing. So I love to hear that. I know Eli kind of threw that at you without a lot of warning. Do you have it? I can do it without it if you don't have it.
Yep, I got the link. About to email to you now.
Sweet. So Norbert, what we're gonna do next, and again, like you're getting the full, you're getting the whole $1,500 foundation workshop here. You don't have Corey, unfortunately, but we're gonna do this anyway. All right. Let's pull that up. And I haven't been taking notes at quite the level I usually do, but we're gonna get it anyway. This is gonna be good. So while we're waiting on that, I am hearing that let's just clarify your why and your what and your who. So I am hearing your why is to ignite enthusiasm for how do you call it quality assurance, quality control, or just quality?
I think just quality overall.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Oh, beautiful. Okay. So here we go. Is this one that's okay for me to edit, Ayla?
Yeah, that's when you
Shall I
can
just
edit,
okay, beautiful.
personalize to Norbert. Yep.
All right. I'm gonna close some of this irrelevant stuff here. Okay. All right. Here's what I am hearing, Norbert. And what's gonna happen is I'm gonna be typing and we're going to be talking, and you are welcome to jump in here. I will use, here's what I heard: enthusiasm.
I'm gonna just jump in case coffee.
Among, I think you said startup executives for the topic of quality by teaching them that quality and, oh, you know what? I closed that document. I actually needed that document. Hold on just a sec. Whoops. Let me get that back open again. and then I'll, because that was the notes I was taking. Recent. There it is. Okay. So I'll go back to sharing. All right. I heard you saying some things. I loved that it'll be one weight less bit. I want to make sure we get that in there. But so you're going to teach them that quality can be fun when, and fun, and there was something in there about being you were describing kind of the more, not technical, but the high level, like what does quality do? You can have it as a process, it can be organized. What was it that you were saying that I was kind of hearing as having a structure around it?
I think that might be the idea of that it's manageable, or it's achievable, or it's there's this idea of de-dramatizing the topic as well. So really making it accessible.
Uh-huh. Fun and accessible. Fun, accessible, and manageable, which will lead to my big why of, and I wasn't taking notes at this point. Let me see if I can repeat it back to you anyway. My big why of, I want to go beyond just like the attracting, no, of teaching that quality can be fun, accessible, shoots. My big why of, all right, we're just going to go big picture here. A world in which I may have these in the wrong place. This is, I really need Corey here. Oh, my big why of de-dramatizing the topic and making it one less weight for executives to carry. So I'm going to shorten this in a minute, so they can focus, because it's partly about them being able to focus on their strategy, focus on strategy and leadership. Okay. Okay. Is there any core thing that feels like it's missing? So I will use my book to ignite enthusiasm among startup executives for the topic of quality by teaching that quality can be fun, accessible, and manageable. Oh, how about not just that it can, teach them how to make quality fun, accessible, and manageable, which will lead to my big why of de-dramatizing the topic and making it one less weight for executives to carry so they can focus on strategy and leadership.
I think there's the idea of really turning quality from being a burden to being a weapon.
Oh, yes.
Like that.
For your organization.
Okay.
So instead of being scared of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Or frustrated, or it's like there's this whole stigma around quality generally that people just, there's a negative stigma that way.
Would you say that it becomes a differentiating factor? Like, are there specifics about how it becomes a weapon for the organization? Or is it enough to just say that it's a weapon?
It's kind of like it becomes part of your identity as a company. Like it's your business card. Like if you create and maintain quality products, people are going to come back to you because they know. Like it's building that extra bond, and then very often unconscious as well. Because we always, when we talk about brands, we always talk about the visual marketing of a brand, right? The story that a brand tells. But once you get the product, there's that experience of having the product on hand, using the product on hand, living with the product for a long time. And if it falls apart after 30 days, then you're, as a client, right?
Yep.
Your entire perception of the product and the brand is going to be crappy. So that's in the way that I see it as a weapon. It's going to secure that relationship with their customer base.
Okay, so let me read you what we've got so far. When we do these, when we do these workshops, we have a metric, and our metric is chills, or a deep breath, or an oh, or a yes, that's it. Okay, so that's what we're looking for, and it's okay if we're not there yet.
Yeah.
I'm going to read it aloud to you. I will use my book to ignite enthusiasm among startup executives for the topic of quality by teaching them how to make it fun, accessible, and manageable, which will lead to my big why of turning the topic of quality from a burden to a weapon for the from a burden to a weapon that strengthens and secures relationships with their customer base. How does that feel?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How do you feel about igniting enthusiasm? Does that happen for you? Is that what you want to do?
Yes. And um so it's funny because my experience has always been that I've been trying to shift the paradigm around quality itself, because I've always started from a negative side and I was always trying to make it positive. But
Okay.
in a startup organization, that history doesn't necessarily exist. Yeah. So
But
it's like,
it does for the executive, right? I mean, these
yeah,
executives aren't coming out of nowhere. They're coming out of other
usually.
organizations generally.
Yeah.
So they're still coming out of that paradigm. I mean, I personally am a fan of shifting paradigms. It's literally in my description of what I do. So
Oh, there you go.
I work with paradigm shifters. I mean, that's what I do. I shift the paradigm. Shift the paradigm among startup in regard to the topic of quality, comma, by teaching them how to make it fun, accessible, and manageable, which will lead to my big why of turning the topic of quality from a burden to a weapon that strengthens and secures relationships with their customer base.
Yeah. So really like the first three lines.
Mm-hmm.
I think the idea of the turning the topic of the burden into a weapon, I think yes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm worried about that strengthens and secures relationship with their customer base, because
Okay.
that's not the only impact.
Ah, okay.
So I think I see it as a multi-impact weapon somehow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because it's gonna shift your organization, it's gonna change your culture, it's gonna secure your customer base, it's gonna strengthen your relationships with your supply chain. Is like there's a ton of things that
Gotcha.
will be impacted, right?
Okay.
So I don't really want it to be just reduced to that.
Mhm.
Um,
Gotcha. Okay. So then that doesn't necessarily need to be in there at all, because you know all of that. So one thing that we didn't go over that normally we would have at this point is this statement is for you. This is not a customer facing. This is not a synopsis that goes up on the right. So you already know what that means, that multi-impact weapon. And
Yeah.
then preserving this down here, because this then can become part of your outline if it ends up making sense. It's certainly something that you can refer back to. All right,
Yeah.
so let's read this again. Unless there's more, sorry.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will use my book to shift the paradigm among startup executives in regard to the topic of quality by teaching them how to make it fun, accessible, and manageable, which will lead to my big why of turning the topic of quality from a burden to a multi-impact weapon. I like the nodding. How you feel?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put this in the chat for you to grab here.
Yeah.
So what we always tell our authors that work with us, make sure you grab that, or if you can always email me later if you lose it or whatever, and I can email it to you.
Sure, I
But
can send an email too
oh,
to him.
beautiful.
I'll do that.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Ayla.
You're
Beautiful.
welcome.
Okay. So what we always say is print this out and
Yeah.
post it somewhere. So now we are finally in the last 15 minutes, we're going to get to your actual question. Okay. You're going to print this out and you're going to post it somewhere that you like to work on your book. So this is going to give you some focus and clarity that is going to help you stay with your book. Now, I'm going to go just a step further. We do have like a whole workshop just around that topic. It's called the Roadmap Workshop. We help establish the outline, and then we actually create a working plan that works with the author's lifestyle. So I'm going to take you rapid fire through that. Okay. Obviously, we're just going to hit the highlights. But first of all, how much have you written? Do you know? Like, do you have a word count or a page count or anything?
I have a page count. I mean, it's pretty wide because I made it colorful as well. And there's like big titles and things like that. I'm at 40 pages right now.
Okay, great. All right. So first of all, do not get stuck. I asked for word count, but don't get stuck on word count. If you go out and you Google how many words should a nonfiction, but it'll say 60,000, because traditional publishers like books that are 60,000 words because it's easy for them to market. It's easy for them to print. It's just, it fits their system. That doesn't mean it's the best length for a book. In fact, many of the most successful business books out there are super short.
Right.
Or, sometimes they're super long. One of my favorite books, it's not a business book, but it's Braiding Sweetgrass, and it's, this thick, right? And it's wildly popular book. So don't get stuck on word count. I was asking that because my book midwife brain thinks in terms of word count. I was just curious, like how much you've actually put down. So when you do write, when you've been producing words, what have been the circumstance of that? Have you had time set aside? Has it been the inspiration has moved you and you've decided to do it? What's the context been?
So there's been a couple of I've been trying to connect with people, and during my conversations with former colleagues or new people that I'm just meeting, sometimes we get to a topic and I'm like, oh, I have to put that in the book, actually. So then I get to the book and that's how I do it.
Yeah.
The other times I actually dedicated, I decided to set some times, take the bike to the coffee shop, grab my computer, and then dedicate that hour and a half, 2 hours to just focusing on the book. And I just started that actually last week, and then this week I have a friend visiting, but I want to try to do that again next week, set 3 or 4 days during the week where I just go and this is my time to write.
Yes.
And I'm hoping this will work as well. Yeah.
Good. Okay. Yes. So most people, everybody's a little different, but most people work well with time set aside rather than word counts. So instead of trying to make yourself write a certain amount, having those dedicated during this time. And the reason that works better for most people is that some days the words are going to come easy and you're going to just be rapid fire getting it down. Some days you're going to sit in front of your screen for an hour or whatever your time is, right? And that's fine because that is work too. That's your brain just processing and getting wrapped around what you're doing. So that's important to know. And the other thing so in our program, and I highly recommend this, we lay out a writing plan that's basically sprints. And you've been working in this world long enough. I assume you're familiar with the 90-day world and why the 90-day world is important, that you set. Do you know, like setting quarterly tasks in 90-day segments and all of that? Okay. So, and the reason for that is that our brains work best in 90-day segments. That's about how long we can stay focused on a task, right? So when we work with our authors, we work in 90-day segments. There's some leeway. Creativity doesn't always fit the confines of what we think it ought to fit. But for generally what we do is we do a 5-week sprint for the first draft. And for that first draft, the goal is just to get the words done. We have the foundation statement up. We have a working outline that we think is going to be more or less where we go, that we can shift. But basically, we're just getting all the thoughts down for 5 weeks. And again, in that workshop, we actually sit down and we break that down. We go, okay, how much time do you need? Most of our authors do it in about 5 hours a week. So 5 weeks of 5 hours a week. Sometimes that's one hour a day during the week. Sometimes it's 5 hours on a Saturday morning. One author goes to Mexico and writes for a week straight. Good for her. Jealous.
No,
But so whatever that is that works. But whatever it is, that's a sprint. That's just getting that first draft down. And really important is to not be fussing over details at that level, not to worry about whether it's in the right order, not to worry about whether it's right, not to worry about whether it makes sense. Just get it down. Just get it down for 5 weeks. In our program, and I recommend a 2-week break. In our program during that 2 weeks, I'm in the draft, bringing my visionary insights, helping like see how that draft needs to be in order to fulfill the author's vision, right? Regardless, definitely take some time. Complete break from it. Don't be thinking about it any more than you have to, because your brain needs that time to process and whatever. And it can be more than 2 weeks. For me, very often I work in a very fluid time frame. I've been doing this for a long time. I know my signals for when I'm taking a break because I just need a break, and when I'm taking a break because I'm procrastinating. They are different. But whatever that is, and then it's a 2-week sprint with revisions. So this is where, like, I really recommend that you have somebody who knows narrative structure, who knows books, like really be in that draft in the meantime, because they are going to help really guide this next stage. People think that writing the first draft is the hardest part. For most people, revising it the first time is the hard part. And that's true for me too. That first
Right.
round of revisions is hard because that's where you're taking all of that beautiful, amazing stuff that you've put out there and you're figuring out what order it needs to go in, and where is it too much and where is it not enough, and what needs to go at the beginning to draw the reader in, and how am I going to wrap this up, and how does it all fit together, right? And it can be really overwhelming.
Right.
Most authors find that during that period, they work with bigger chunks of time because it's really hard to get into that mindset in an hour. Generally, you want at least 2. I actually literally stayed up last night. I just needed to work on one of my manuscripts. It was just one of those moments. Oh, it's time. I think I probably spent 5 hours in there last night. And 5 hours to me feels good. That's about how much I need to really be deep in a revision. 2 hours is kind of the minimum, in my opinion, to really get into that mindset. Because every time you go back to it, you have to get back there again. So the more you can condense that. That's just for the revision process. For the writing process, not so much. It can be a lot more spread out. And then again, another break. And again, preferably have somebody in there who knows what they're doing to help you at this point bring out your voice, right? So what can we take away to really polish up that voice? What can be added in to really draw the reader into who you are and how you are and what's fun and what's exciting, what's entertaining, right? As well as, going back and just making sure the structure works out the way it needs to work out, and just polishing it up some more. And then another round for you to be in there, again, if you've had somebody in there, then it's like looking at their suggestions, accepting them, rejecting them, whatever, and then doing your own sort of editing. So that is kind of a 90-day framework where it's 5 weeks on, 2 weeks off, 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, 2 weeks on. And then at the end of that 90 days, you will have something that is pretty close approximation to what you want it to be. Most people will, right? It may not be. If you're in our program, usually at the end of that, it's ready for a copy, like a copy editor, which is different from what I do. The copy editor is checking that all your dashes or em dashes and your quotation marks are all facing the right direction. It might take a little longer, to get to that point. But I still would recommend that you stick with a 90-day segment. And at the end of that 90 days, reassess and say, okay, where am I? Where do I want to be, and create a new plan for the next 90 days, or take a break and come back to it in the next quarter if you feel like you need that. Does that help?
Yeah. I think that is helpful. I think the one thing that came out as I listen to you and I try to absorb all of it, and I'm probably going to do a lot of chewing on it today as well. So
Yeah.
is I think where I'm going to need the most help is around the vision and around the editing.
Mhm.
Because I have so much to say, I also don't want to make it a big book. And then that goes back to your first point. I want to make it, even if it's like
Yeah.
50 pages, 60 pages, I don't care. I just want something easy that you can slip in your bag, slip in your pocket, and then travel on the plane, read on the plane, refer back to it, keep it like, always keep it handy.
Yes.
And that'll be the first one. I mean, I can envision easily that once that one is done, I accumulate more experience, and I'll go back and I'll do maybe small sections, more in depth. And so I think there's opportunities for me to build that over time as well. And so I think the editing part and really narrowing down to who's my target reader here, and really building the content for that person.
Yes.
To try to be too broad, and then it becomes also too overwhelming because a lot of information won't necessarily be relevant. I believe.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Go ahead, Ayla.
I realized I wasn't on mute and I was talking. I was like, yeah, absolutely. I was talking to myself,
Yeah.
agreeing with you.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. There's a famous letter from Mark Twain. I don't know who he was writing to, where he says, "I'm sorry this letter is so long. I didn't have time to write a shorter one." Getting things down to that core piece. And actually the revisions I did last night, I went from 50,000 words to 40,000. So what is that? 20? I cut out like 20% of what was in there. And that can be such a powerful, I actually have there's one of our authors he turned into me a 75,000 word. And he wants it to be short. Like he's on board. He's like, yeah. So part of my work was saying, okay, here are your key points. Let's bring these to the fore. Here it's, and my hope is when it comes back to me, it'll be closer to the 30 to 40,000 range, and then we'll pare it down even from there. Right. So, so getting that pared down, I think is really essential and valuable. So Norbert, thank you so much. We're coming near the end. Really appreciate you being here. Thank you for being a guinea pig today, for being a good sport about just like being total laser focus on you today.
Right.
Awesome.
Surprise.
I know. It's all right. I'll take it. I'll take it. No, it's super helpful. Really, really, truly
Good.
appreciate. Yeah, definitely.
Good. I am glad it is helpful. And if you are interested in talking about more help, I would love to grab 15, 20 minutes, maybe introduce you to Corey as well. And we can kind of
Yeah.
see if it makes sense for us to work together. Be happy to send you if you want that, I'll have Ayla send you an email and we can schedule it.
Yes.
Would you like
please
that?
do that? I'd love that. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. That'd be
Fantastic.
wonderful.
I am on vacation next week, so it'll be sometime after that, but Ayla will work with you to get that set up.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
beautiful. Oh my gosh. Norbert, I love this. And I love like when we just started getting a little more organized about how I'm doing these events. The registration is new and it's wonderful because I can go out and kind of look at people's profiles and go, oh, that's who's coming. So I know a little bit about you.
Right.
So I love that, like when I went out and I was like, I mean, I know what quality is, right? But I also thought of it as a boring topic, but I was curious to see what it was that you had to say. So when you said like that you want to make it interesting and you want it, and then when you were talking about why that's important, I was like, yeah, like I use Apple products because I know the quality is going to be consistent. Like the operating system drives me crazy, but the quality is worth it. Like when I buy clothes, like I'm getting ready, I'm going to do a week on the AT next summer and I'm out there, like I'm looking for clothes that are going to go the distance. Like I don't want cheap Walmart t-shirt, like what's gonna actually work and stay working, and what has those amazing reviews over years and years, which brands have that reputation, right? Like that really matters. It matters a lot.
And it connects so much to sustainability as well these days, because the less product you have to produce, the less pollution you're going to have to send out in the earth.
Yes. And I love to hear you saying that because that matters to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, Norbert, thank you so much. This has been an absolute delight. I'm glad I
Thank
got to
you.
know you some
Yeah, I know,
today.
me too. That was fun. Yeah, I'm glad
Yeah.
I
I look forward to talking to you when I get back. Ayla, thank you so much for joining
Yep.
us and for picking up all the slack that I would
enjoyed it.
inevitably drop.
Nope,
right.
it's great.
Perfect.
All right.
Thank you so much. I
Perfect.
appreciate it. Nice, very nice meeting you. And then, yeah, let's connect over email then and set up something.
I
later.
sure will.
Perfect. All
Perfect.
right.
All
I'll
right.
talk to you
Thanks,
soon.
guys.
Bye. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you. Bye.